Hi, this is Kristin.
And this is Aaron.
And this is Drive Mode Show. And today we're going to talk about our 5 top vehicles that are realistic and attainable for the year.
Which means none of the ones on the wall behind me.
But those are Lego. Those are totally attainable.
Oh, yeah. I think the most expensive one was like $28.
I'd call that attainable.
All right, so do you want me to kick this one off or you want to do it?
You start. Start with your number one.
So these aren't in a particular order. They're just the order that I thought of them in. But I started out with a pickup truck. So my favorite truck this year, it's new this year, so it just came out in 2019, is the Ram 2500 in a tradesman package with the Power Wagon package added. So basically you're getting a Power Wagon for cheap.
That's very specific.
Yeah, well, it's the tradesman, the base model Ram, in the 2500, so it's the 3/4 ton. You can add the diesel engine, and you can get the Power Wagon package, so all the Power Wagon goodies except for the decals, for like $7,500. So it's a really inexpensive, serious off-road beast. It's awesome.
Well, you can't go wrong with the Ram. I mean, it just keeps on racking up the awards.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a great truck overall. But when you add on, I like off-roading a lot. So you add on that couple of inches of lift plus the heavy loaded springs and the updated shocks and the added Under Armour and all the other stuff that goes with that. It's such a great truck. I had such a good time in it.
It's a great
awesome.
truck. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what's yours? What would be yours?
Along those lines, the truck that I really enjoyed driving this year was the GMC Sierra HD. So they took us out to Jackson Hole and we drove it. We got to tow these giant trailers and it was so smooth, and I was incredibly impressed with the 15 cameras and all of the things that they thought of that make driving a truck and towing easier.
Yeah, I really want to try that truck because I really want to play with those cameras. Watching the video you did was great because I was like, wow, that is so genius.
It's really cool.
I drove the Chevy 2500 this year, so roughly the same truck, but I didn't get to tow with it because I was in Portland, Oregon on vacation. So it was a nice study in driving a giant vehicle in tight spaces. That's what it was.
Well, that's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, the Chevy and GMC, they really do know how to make good pickup trucks. That's for sure.
I agree. And it was a great experience, and it really helped increase my confidence in towing because I hadn't had a lot of experience. Between Nissan and GMC, they gave me a great education on towing this year.
So we can stay with GM for a minute because my next one is the Cadillac XT6.
Okay.
I really liked that as a luxury SUV, family SUV too. So very much like the Chevy Traverse and the Buick Enclave, but with the Cadillac interior, which it's unmatched. I mean, if anybody knows how to take a million different, they have like six different things that they're putting in there, materials, 6 different things they're putting in this thing and jamming them all together, and it should be fugly, and it's not. It's beautiful.
It is far from that.
Yeah, it's a real, Cadillac knows how to make a real illustration of American luxury in a vehicle. So it's not like anything you'll see in Europe. It's not like what you would see in a Japanese or other luxury car. It's a very American luxury experience. And it's beautifully done.
It
really
is.
Good.
I agree. In fact, I got a call yesterday from a family friend. She is probably in her late 70s. And she's had a Mercedes sedan for a long time. She's had Lexus. And she was asking me, she said, I'm ready to go to an SUV. I want to be a little bit higher, but I don't want to struggle to get in. And so, you know, I told her the whole XT5, XT6, I mean, both of those are great vehicles and have all those luxury touches that she wants.
Yeah, I drove the XT4 this year and really liked it. But I have 3 kids, so it's a little too small for my family. But it's wonderful, wonderful drive and sportier than you would expect too. So that was another good point.
Agreed. I really enjoyed driving that. I drove it around the XT6. I drove around Virginia and the DC area. You know, we kind of went off the path a little bit, and it was really nice, just so comfortable.
Yeah, wonderful car. What's next on your list?
So next on my list is staying in the SUV category. There's a couple that I really liked. As we were talking, I was thinking about the Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro. It's sporty, and it's rugged, and it's cavernous. It's giant. Like, my son loves it. And it's big, but it doesn't feel like it's hard to park.
Comes in that awesome army green. Sorry to stomp on you, but it comes in that awesome army green.
It does. It does. I do like that army green, and I didn't think I would, but it looks great on that vehicle, and you and I have talked about that before. The other one I really like is the Armada. Nissan's Armada. It's really capable. I drove it off-road at the Texas Truck Rodeo this year, and it's super capable. And it's luxurious, and it's got all those things that I love. And I just love Nissan. I like their personality. I like the brand a lot.
We took the Armada fishing this year. So I loaded up the kids and we went to the lake. But something that's often overlooked with the Armada is it's a wonderful tower. It's really good at a bumper pull.
It is.
Great towing machine. There are things I don't like about it, but there are things that are shared commonly among all body-on-frame SUVs, which is why I tend towards crossovers, because most people, I think, don't really need an SUV. You know, you don't need, because really the only reason to buy it is off-road and towing, and most people that own them don't ever do those things. But yeah, the Armada and the Sequoia are wonderful examples of what an SUV is capable of. And with the TRD Pro package, that Sequoia is crazy.
It is hard to beat.
We were throwing it through the mud, bouncing it off of things. It was so much fun.
It's really fun. And I do have one more in the category. It's a little bit different, but we took the Ford Expedition Max out to my in-laws out in Mertzen, Texas. So it's about 3 hours west of Austin. And there's lots of off-roading. It's more of rough roads, fast roads, and my son loved it. It's got all kinds of comforts and seated, you know, seat heaters. Why can't I speak? And yeah, we really liked it. It was fun.
It's so when I had that, which is a little over a year ago, we took it camping. So we got 2 adults, 3 kids, and all of our camping gear in that thing, and road tripped up north into Guernsey, Wyoming, and went camping and went to the Oregon Trail.
The Oregon Trail.
Yeah, and we got back and didn't die of dysentery.
Yay!
Awesome. So, sticking with that, off-roading, my next one on my list is Jeep Gladiator, which both of us really love, because that was the first time we spent a substantial amount of time together was on a Jeep trip.
That's right.
For that car. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. The Jeep Gladiator got a lot of looks, and when I drove it earlier this year, I drove it back out to my in-laws again, because that's one of my favorite road trips, and people stopped me to ask if they could take pictures of it, because they hadn't seen it out there yet, and it's so unique.
I had a guy come and ask me what the price tag was, and he wanted to know, you know, a bunch of details, and then I had another guy that just walked up and wanted to just have his face next to the Gladiator and do a selfie.
You did that, I think.
I did that too, yeah, because it's kind of, I mean, look at it. And I had a lady pull up in her Jeep, so she had an older Wrangler with I mean, it started out as a Wrangler, and then it had a whole lot of things added to it, because that's kind of how those work. But she pulled up in hers and climbed down out of it and came over and wanted to know if the doors came off, wanted to know if the roof came off, wanted to know, I was parked in the grocery store parking lot. and the lady, there's a secretary at my kid's school that's a huge off-road fan, and she has this extremely modified Jeep that she drives every day, right? Drives it like an everyday car. And, it's fun to watch because she's like a middle-aged, older lady, slightly over middle-aged, and
I'm middle-aged.
Looks totally out of place when she climbs up into this giant rig with these huge fat tires on it. But
Good for her.
Anyway, she just wanted to know, what's new with this? What can it do? I see they have a Rubicon. That's awesome. She went off. And I'm pretty sure she's one of the few people in the world that knows more about Jeep than I do.
Wow.
But so loved that truck. And then as a truck, it was great.
Agreed.
Tows well, hauls well, rides smooth comparatively. Just a great rig.
Really fun. Really fun. The only thing I would say about the Gladiator that I didn't like was the audio system. It sounded a little bit tinny. Maybe it was the speaker placement or something.
Some of that is, I think, just the design of the cabin.
Yeah, sure.
So because it's a square cabin, you have the same issue in a Wrangler. Because it's a square cabin and it has a lot of plastic, like the whole roof and all of that, that's all fiberglass. Because of that, it audio bounces.
Right.
So instead of coming at you smoothly, it's bouncing around a lot. And then the speaker placement, because of the roll bars and other things, is not ideal. But the little boombox that comes in it, that was awesome.
That was awesome. That was really cool, and I think the GMC Sierra also had a box in the back of theirs. That was pretty cool. Now, speaking of speakers and audio, one other car, the next car that's on my list, is the Lexus LC 500H with Mark Levinson audio.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
That car is one of my favorites. It's so sporty. It just made me feel like a rock star. I mean, it's on the higher end of affordable and attainable at 100 plus. But this hybrid, especially, it took me from Austin to Fort Worth, which is about 3 hours away, and back. And I don't think I used a half a tank of gas. It was so convenient.
Yeah. Wonderful car. And the video that you did with, was it Harvey Briggs that you did that video with?
Yes.
That was great. Just talking about the audio. I had a lot of fun overlaying all the bands and the musicians you guys were talking about.
Oh yeah, Harvey's awesome. And we really, when you love music and you love, you have a thing for car audio, it really, you notice.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a pretty car to look at.
It's beautiful.
So sinuous, with just the way it moves on the bodywork and the way they use these little bone lines to accentuate that huge ridge that they have across the side. So it just kind of flows down. It's so pretty.
I think it's underappreciated. Car. I mean, I think people know it's a great car, but I don't know if enough people know what a great car it is.
Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people that are sports car enthusiasts, they poo-poo the idea of a hybrid because they don't think of the fact that with an electric you have full torque right from the beginning.
Yeah.
But in a hybrid, you also have the engine sound. So you get both.
Yes.
In one package.
I love it. So. Yeah, to me it's
And you don't have to
practical.
sit in line at the supercharger.
What's next on your list?
Similar sports car, but a little bit more attainable, I guess. The BMW Z4. So I got the chance to drive both the Miata and the Z4. So both the new sports cars. They're based on the same platform. So the new Miata is from the BMW platform that the Z4 is. The difference being that the BMW is, they didn't worry as much about price tags. So they didn't cut as many corners.
Right.
So with the Miata, you have a rough ride, you have a lot of noise, less than usual. I will say that the previous generation Miata was much louder than the new MX-5, but you still, you know, the noise is there. It's a little rough. Some of the refinement is gone comparatively. So I like the Z4 better. It felt good. I felt like I wasn't, you know, just your usual everyday middle-aged dude getting in and out of a red convertible. I felt like I was the smarter one because I got the better red convertible. But it was plus, you know, I'm not bald, which adds. But I just really enjoyed the car. I just enjoyed driving it. It's not as fast, or you know, you're not gonna take checkered flags or get you know, break records at the Nürburgring or something like that.
Well.
It's just a good car. Everything about it.
Yeah, it is a beautiful car. And, you know, you were comparing it to the Mazda Miata, and I did drive that this year. I had the MX-5 convertible, and it was so fun to drive. I really enjoyed just driving it around the neighborhood and with the top down. The top is so easy to take it down, put it back up, and I just felt like I could take it anywhere. I mean, it's not super practical for a mom, you know, or somebody with a family, but it's a great date night car. It's a great weekend car. It's a great fix-up car, you know. So I think the Mazda Miata remains classic.
It has a bigger trunk than you would expect.
It does.
And then my biggest issue with the Miata, not my only, but my biggest issue with the Miata is I don't fit.
Well.
And the new one is smaller. In terms of the interior space and the headroom.
Really?
So when I'm sitting in that car, I am now touching the hardtop on that car when I'm sitting in it. And with the top down, I feel like if the car rolls over, I'm dead.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like my head's sticking out of the car. And I didn't have that in the BMW.
Okay.
And then a little more seat adjustability in the BMW too. Which was just another, again, Mazda has to build their car to meet a price point, right? Because if they overprice the car, they won't sell it.
Right.
Whereas BMW doesn't have as much restriction there. They can go a little more, so they had, you know, a little better interior materials, things like that. But we're talking about cars that are somewhere around, I think, $12,000 apart in price tag. So it's a bit of a gap.
It is, but it's not a huge gap. I mean, you know, it depends on what you want your experience to be.
Well, it's funny too, because you were talking about the price of the Lexus. $100,000 sounds like a lot of money until you realize that the pickup truck that you were talking about, that's an $80,000 truck.
It's true.
So, you know, nowadays, I'm talking about this Ram that's the cheapest model, but you're still going to be buying it at somewhere around 45. So it's, you know, this it's a very relative thing, right?
It's true. And, you know, depending on your lifestyle, I mean, here in Texas, a truck makes so much sense. But if I were an empty nester, I would go with the Lexus LC 500H every day. So
what was next on your list?
The last vehicle on my list is a group of vehicles, and that's the Dodge Challenger. I like it in just about every trim. And it's fast, it's sporty, it tears off the line, and it's got launch control, and it's a blast.
So, the reason I love the Dodge lineup, all the Dodges in cars, is because they are truly the last of the really American cars. They're huge, right? You got the big, you got the Charger, you got the Chrysler 300. These are huge cars.
Big.
You don't have that anywhere else. Like, you can't go somewhere else and get that size of car. You know, it's a total throwback to the 80s for size. And then with the Challenger lineup, you have this breadth of choice. So you're not just going, you know, Demon or Hellcat or whatever. I mean, my favorite Challenger is the GT. So that's only a V6. It's not a huge engine, but it's well done V6. It's the right size, and it's all-wheel drive. And you can get it in that Dukes of Hazzard orange. You can get the cool fin on the back, and you can go nuts out in the dirt.
I drove those. I actually drove those in the snow. One of my first vehicle drives was events was out in Maine. Actually, we drove a track in New Hampshire in the snow, doing donuts in the Dodge Challengers, and it was a great time.
It was last year we did it at the Red Line Ice Drive. Drove it on a frozen lake and a parking lot covered in snow, right? Snow-filled parking lot. And it was by far the easiest vehicle to just throw around, right? You push the, so the trick with the GT is you push down the traction control and hold it until the car beeps at you. And then that shuts off not only traction control, but also the center differential, so that it throws all the power to the back wheels. And then you just go nuts all over the place. Did the same thing in the Jeep Wrangler Sahara, which has all-wheel drive instead of four-wheel drive.
Okay.
You can do the same thing with it. So yeah, just go crazy.
So Santa, if you're listening, any one of these cars you could put under the tree for me.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I like cars in general, and I like them all in one way or another.
Yeah.
But these are the ones that stand out to me. So happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, this has been
This
Aaron.
has been Kristin.
Drive Mode Show. Subscribe.